Hi guys. So today I want to talk about something that I see a lot of tech founders struggle with, right? And that is validating their product or validating the problem, right? Validating their solution or the problem, right? And I'm going to first focus on validating the problem, and then I'll do a follow-up video to for validating the solution, right? But yeah, for validating the problem, a lot of people confuse having a frustration with having a validated problem, right? They're not the same, right? Because you can have a pain point that is very frustrating, but it doesn't mean that the user will be willing to pay. Trust me, there are a lot of things I complain about in my life that there are apps and solutions to help me solve this problem, but would I pay for them? No, right? So that's what problem validation means. It means confirming that the problem is real. That number one, the problem is real, that it is frequent, and it is painful enough that people are willing to pay. Emphasis on painful enough that people are willing to pay, because if they're not going to pay you, there's no point. You're not going to make money, right? So it's not just about complaining about it, but are they willing to pay, right? So that's what this video is going to be about, because the reality is that it's almost like you're designing a ship without in a desert, right? As crazy as that sounds, that's what happens when you don't validate your product, right? Yeah, so the first thing that you want to do is to check if they are competitors, right? No competitor doesn't necessarily mean that you're a genius, you're the first to notice the gap or whatever, whatever. Most times it could mean that there is no market for that product, right? That's why there's no competition, right? A crowded market proves demand exists, right? And that's why fintech. Yes, there was a problem when it comes to the Nigerian financial sector, and fintech solved a lot of problems. Yes, and that's why most of them are booming. But a crowded market proves that demand exists. So you have to check that whether or not that there is a market for that product. And sometimes it could be that competitors failed for one reason or the other. So if that is the case, then you want to study the competitor to know why they failed, right? And all of that. Like I said here, you don't just look at them, you autopsy them, you read their one-star review. What are their customers frustrated about? You try to understand why they fail. Their weaknesses should be your opportunities. Their negative reviews should be your feature list. So those when you check out the competitors and you see people saying, "Oh, they didn't give me this. Oh, they didn't give," those are your feature lists that you should be writing. This is what you want to include in your own products, right? Yeah. So the next thing you want to do is that you want to talk to the actual users, not your friends this time, because a lot of you tend to, and I'm guilty of this. I tend to validate ideas and validate solutions through my friend. It's just the most natural thing to do, right? But you want to talk to actual users out of your friends, because your friends are always going to want to soothe your ego and make you feel better and all of that. So you want to talk to people who are really frustrated about the problem and don't give two and don't are not interested in massaging your ego, right? So you want to interview 10 to 20 real users. You want to ask about their workflow, ask about how they currently solve problem, ask what it costs them time. And because the essence of doing this, right, is not just to look for words, right? It's not just to look for words. It's not just about their opinion. It's about noticing patterns, noticing behavior, right? Because it's what they may say again, not all problem, not it's not all problem that people are compelled to solve. So when you are structuring the questions that you want to ask, when you're structuring the questions you want to ask, structure it in a way that it can help you understand if they are already spending money solving that problem. Or if they're already spending money solving that problem, there's a high probability that they'll buy from you, right? Check if they are using alternatives to solve the problem, right? So that you know who your competitors are or what you are up against, who are the people that are most likely to steal your customers or something like that. Check if they are losing revenue. Like, are they losing revenue? Are they losing sleep? Are they losing something valuable because of this problem, right? Again, it's not about their opinions, it's about their behaviors. That's the insight that you need, right? I hope that's self-explanatory enough, right? So, and the next thing that you want to do is that you want to check the frequency and the urgency of um, the pain, right? And so the next points I'm going to raise are not in this slide. So I'm just going to be saying them. I have them in my notes here, but they're not included in this slide because this slide was decided a long time ago, right? So the thing you want to check the frequency and urgency of the problem. Is it a daily problem? Is it a weekly problem? Is it a once in a year inconvenience, right? So because urgency determines adoption speed, right? If it's a daily problem, chances are they're going to adopt your product quickly, right? And so that means you probably will make money quickly, right? Now, if it's a problem that occurs yearly, like it means that your sales, I don't know if saying the sales cycle will be long is the right thing to say, but basically it just means that before you acquire customer, it might take a while, because again, somebody can have a problem for like once a year. The problem comes, they are frustrated. Every year they're frustrated. It just takes 1 year for them to be angry, so they may stay 3-4 years, and the fifth year they are just like, you know what, I'm done, I have to figure this out. So it just means that, it's going to be longer, so you have to check the urgency so that you know what you are dealing with, right? And that's that. Now, so the final thing I'm going to say, and this is strictly for African tech entrepreneurs, rather, Jesus, tech entrepreneurs, right? There's also something I call contextual validation, right? This is where, um because we know our realities in Africa, right? So you have to validate infrastructure realities, right? Internet, power, device access. These are real roadblocks you might face in the future, right? So you have to investigate that we have the structure to to accommodate the solution that you want to build. And even if you don't have the structure, what cheaper alternative can you use, right? So that you don't create a product that is too expensive to sell. Because if the cost of production is high, the cost of selling will be high, and people might not want to buy from. So just you also have to check that and depending on the type of product you are creating, you have to check payment behavior, regulatory barriers, cultural trust patterns, because this matter. The African market is not like the Western market, right? The African market is it's tougher. Let me put it that way, because we have trust issues, right? So you have to check all this thing, and also regulatory barriers to check the laws surrounding whatever it is that you are building. You don't want to build something and then you realize that, oh, there are policies that says that you cannot do this or do that, right? Yeah, so these are just the few ways I think that you can validate your problem before you build a solution. I'm going to drop a follow-up video on how you can now actually validate that solution. That means you built the solution, that, or before you even build the solution or whatever, that how can you get people to pay? I think that's the right. I'm going to drop a follow-up video for that. I don't want this video to be lengthy, but yeah, this is how I would validate a product if I was going to build a product. If you found this content useful, please like, subscribe, and you can also share it as well. Thank you very much. See you guys in my next video.